As I've noted on the channel many times now, Tesla is planning for an astronomical amount of battery supply by 2030. And they are utilizing the time now to plan well and truly ahead. Battery factories, battery materials, and the raw resources that go into those batteries are what are needed. Tesla has just agreed to purchase a huge amount of graphite from US sources. What does this say about Tesla's future plans? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Electric Viking. My name is Sam Evans. Great to have you here on the channel. Now, welcome to all the new subscribers. There's so many of you who have just hit 50,000 subscribers. Fantastic to have all of you here on the channel, and welcome back to everyone else. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you to the supporters on Patreon who make this channel possible. I'll put a link in the description below where you can support the channel if you want to. Now, Tesla has agreed to purchase the majority of battery-ready graphite from a US facility. Simon Alvarez reported on Teslarati that Tesla will be purchasing most of the battery-ready graphite that would be produced at a planned facility in Louisiana. I just want to point out the fact that I think generally Tesla plans well in advance for future projects. If you look at Tesla's master plan that was written more than a decade ago, incredibly Tesla have actually followed through on almost everything in the master plan in a way that is truly, it's almost bizarrely uncanny in the way they've been able to somehow follow through on their decade-long plans. Who does that? Who actually follows through on a 10-year plan? Tell me, when have you ever followed through on a 10-year plan? Even a small one. But on this scale, it's quite incredible. So what's Tesla planning to do with all this graphite? Well, first, I should state, this move is seen as part of the company's efforts to acquire key materials for its vehicles from sources beyond China. One of the things I recently reported was the fact that it's much easier, more affordable, and logistically more intelligent to get battery supply, minerals, and everything else needed for a car locally or as close as possible. And that's the key reason why CATL are building an enormous Gigafactory to produce 70 gigawatt hours of batteries for Tesla's Shanghai factory. They're building their factory just down the road. And this is what generally happens. Once you build a big factory, all the suppliers start to dot out, start to pop up all around that factory. Same thing is happening in Austin, in Texas. So when you build a factory, it actually makes a lot of sense not to build 20 different factories producing, say, enough cars, say 1 million cars, but to build one factory or two maximum to produce vehicles, because then you get economies of scale. Now, as noted in a Bloomberg report, Melbourne-based Syrah Resources Limited will be supplying Tesla with graphite anode material for an initial period of 4 years. Syrah noted that Tesla would have the option to purchase additional volumes of graphite subject to the further expansion of its plant. Now, Syrah's Vildaya plant is expected to process graphite from Mozambique, effectively making it the first US-based source of graphite anodes. This should make the facility an important partner for companies such as Tesla, which have staked their future on the rapid growth of the electric vehicle sector and the battery industry, and particularly in the United States, where Tesla obviously has most of the market. I think they have over 60% of the electric car market. And obviously they plan on massively upscaling their efforts to manufacture vehicles in the United States. Now, so far, China produces nearly all of the graphite that's used in the production of anodes. I'll repeat that. So far, China produces nearly all of the graphite that's used in the production of anodes. So this will be the first significant production of graphite outside of China anywhere in the world. This is much more significant than people realize, and I'm surprised that this is not being reported on by more sources. Now, considering that Bloomberg NEF forecasts that the demand for graphite anodes will likely increase 5-fold by the end of the decade, I think 10-fold is more likely, initiatives such as Syrah's Vidalia plant, which will produce the material in the United States, will make a big difference to Tesla getting localized production and into keeping jobs in America. Now, the value of graphite was recently highlighted earlier this month when Tesla asked the US government to waive tariffs of the material that was coming from China. Now, Tesla said then that it could not acquire the necessary volumes of graphite anywhere else in the world. But now it's found another solution. It should be noted, however, that the initial 10,000 ton a year production rate of Sierra's Vidalia plant is only enough to supply around 3% of the expected US-based battery demand by 2025. Now, this is what Tesla said. As a result of Tesla's due diligence process for suppliers of artificial graphite globally and in the United States, Tesla has concluded that no company in the United States is currently capable of producing artificial graphite to the required specifications and capacity needed for Tesla's production. Now, the fact that only Tesla is making these types of long-term strategic moves and acquisitions tells me that Legacy Auto isn't really thinking far enough into the future and probably doesn't plan to manufacture electric cars in large scale within the next few years at least. But the reality is that auto plants all around the world are for the most part more assemblers of components, similar to companies like Magna Steyr. So what this means is that companies like General Motors, Ford, Toyota, etc., even Volkswagen, they think that it is the supplier's problem, not their own. Now, I don't think Volkswagen actually sees it that way. I think they're being a little bit more strategic with some of their recent acquisitions, such as that of Goshon High Tech and other acquisitions of batteries and planned battery build-outs in Europe. However, in general, Legacy Auto clearly is not planning for the future in the same way that Tesla and BYD are. Now, for those of you who don't know, remember, BYD has actually built out 6 battery factories in the last 12 months, which are all fully operational in China. And in the same period of time, they started production of a $2.4 billion plant, which will build the parts that go into their electric cars. Now, obviously, within a few years, the chip shortage we're currently seeing, which is the excuse of legacy automakers as to why sales of their vehicles have declined and sales of electric cars have increased, particularly of new electric car brands, will be replaced by a so-called raw materials shortage, which could be reality. This could possibly be caused by companies realizing too late that they need supply of graphite locally and not from China. I mean, just replicate this across a whole range of different products needed for an electric car. This is one example of how companies such as Tesla are thinking ahead. Now, remember, I'm not just talking about Tesla here. I'm talking about other car companies as well. I think BYD is doing similar things. Now, there was an interview where JB Straubel, formerly of Tesla, who now owns Redwood, who will recycle batteries in the United States, said something similar. He said that OEMs are all assuming that they can purchase battery components as needed when they eventually do ramp up. Like an overbooked flight, not everyone will be able to get on board. Thanks for watching the channel, and I'll see you again on the next one. Bye-bye.